are you? I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. This is the Bird Emergency. I'm back. Well, I was back yesterday, but yesterday was just getting over a bit of shell shock. And just excuse me, this microphone is not in the right spot. Um, hey, Glenn, thank you too. Thank you for the Facebook love. It's nice to be appreciated straight away. Today will be loosey goosey. I want to fill you in on. I just checked. It was about 8 weeks that I didn't stream, and I didn't realise it was that long. I really needed a break. I've been so much invested in politics and frustration with things not progressing the way I had envisaged they might with this current government here and changes of government in the states in Australia. Oh, I've got to keep remembering too. I've got a different camera set up, so I have to remember I'm looking here. So yeah, I was tired. I was exhausted. I was grumpy. I needed to freshen up. I spent a lot of time hanging out with Loz. If you know Loz, my lorikeet, the setup now inside, I bought him this great big new cage, and I can't wheel it into the room. And I've got to make some changes so he can fly around here and not continually poop on me. But he might be into habitat gardening tomorrow morning. Let's see, comments already. G'day, Glenn. Glenn, where are you today? Are you in the Botanic Gardens, or are you doing something cool at home? Oh, and I just got a message over one of the apps on the internet. Hello, Jen, as well. That's nice. Nice that you can join in today. I want to tell you about a new membership tier that I've just developed, and I was speaking with Naomi, who you may know, regular viewers, and participants on social media, especially on Facebook, and you might remember. Actually, I'll just recognise Glenn's comment. Good stuff, Glenn. Hey, Glenn, what's the weather doing up there? Have you got these humid storms, or we got weird weather here? Oh, let me acknowledge too, I'm in Melbourne in Australia, and that's the traditional unceded lands of the Wurundjeri people here. So I'd just like to make that clear. Glenn's further north. Glenn's on the outskirts of Sydney. Jen is in the Philippines, so that's cool. Okay, what was I going to tell you? We're going to have a run through some of the recent interesting research that I've pulled off Google Scholar, and we may have a look at some. I'll just check if we're going to have trouble sharing the pages. It's over here. I want it over there. That's where I want it, over there. Just let me know. So, okay, we should be able to go through some of those too. But first, I want to and also too, let me know. I have seen some error messages with people not being able to stay connected on live streams on two of the major platforms. So let me know about that. Anyway, let's start with plants a little bit. Habitat gardening is on tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Australian Eastern Summer Time, daylight time. I have to remember that. And tomorrow I'm talking about the Myrtaceae family, and in particular, well, we're talking about bottle brushes or callistemons because they're in flower all over the place here in Melbourne now. And but I want to talk about some of the less well known genera, and how you should utilize those in your garden. And you might remember I did a habitat gardening where I was talking about what I'm going to develop here and I'm way behind, but I have started growing the plants that I intend to use here at in my little habitat gardening project. And I've been growing seed and taking some cuttings. And when you do seed propagation, you always end up with more than you need if you're just growing for yourself. So we've decided that I'm going to offer the mixed dozens of plants that I select that will come as a bonus for an annual membership on Buy Me a Coffee or the equivalent donation through PayPal, and then you'll be treated just like a member. I don't want to go through the rigmarole on PayPal of setting up subscriptions. We'll just stick it as a donation, and I'll keep track of that. Excuse me. So if you'd like to know more about that, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But hey, let's just get through all the cookie stuff. And where's the conclusion? All of these articles that I wanted, the research articles that I like to look at, are always very, very difficult to find free. Yeah, on second thoughts, I'm not going to bother with that one. But it was a very interesting one because it was the economics of conserving endangered birds. But I think we'll go first here. Okay, come on, you can have all those. Come on. All right. Working out. Let me share this page. Share this screen. All right. Let's come on. Add to stage. Here we go. There we go. That's better, isn't it? You might be aware of one of the strategies that is being suggested all the time when it comes to conservation and endangered birds is that we will reintroduce populations or translocate populations. And so often what people think is an appropriate site turns out not to be. Hello, YouTube. Nice. Thank you for joining. Now, for years and years, I mean, probably 50 odd years, that practice of taking birds that from an endangered species and perhaps critically endangered, almost gone, from one site, whether that site is under threat from maybe development or maybe increased fire risk. We actually talked about that in the translocation of the Mallee emu wren episode that I did a couple of years ago now with Simon Vernon. That strategy has been used regularly around the world to move vulnerable populations, or a population where there is, excess individuals. Maybe there's a healthy population of a critically endangered bird that is isolated in one spot, but there is another location which is suitable for them, but there may be none or only a very small number of individual birds in the population on the proposed site for the introduction or reintroduction. So we've got a number of techniques available now because of just technical development. And this article I thought was interesting because it focuses on one of the places on Earth that has suffered so badly from extinctions, and that is the Hawaiian Islands. Australia's got a shocking record of extinctions for our mammals. We've managed to not completely extinctify, wipe out many bird species, but we've got many that are right on the cusp. But we now have new tools that can identify sites that may be suitable for introduction of endangered birds. And how people are doing it is utilising new technology to build models and using statistical analysis to do that too. So Hawaii has a number of birds that are they're endemic, many of them, so that they only exist in Hawaii and perhaps only on one island, similar to southern New Zealand, where they have subspecies of birds that only occur on one island, and particularly in that Chatham Island area. But the Hawaiian honeycreeper is threatened basically through climate change, and not through one of the ways that you might think, in that the habitat is going to disappear. But no, climate change is increasing and changing the way that diseases can spread within populations and how diseases behave with increases in temperature or humidity or other factors. So I'll just read the abstract, and I will translate. I will dumb down the scientific language if we need to. Now, and before I do that, I'll just get some info about LIDAR up so we can all check out the I'll just get the here we are. There we go. Sorry for the break there, but we'll just get onto that one in a minute. Okay, so the abstract of this paper, I could have said what it was. Identifying conservation introduction sites for endangered birds through the integration of LiDAR-based habitat suitability models and population variability analyses. So we're going deep in the weeds here. This is published by the lead author, Erica Marie Gallerani, Department of Geography, University of California, Los Angeles. So, geographers, archaeologists, they often use LiDAR in their work. Then we've got Lucas Berrio Fortoni from the Pacific Islands Ecosystem Research Centre, and I'm going to guess that that Lucas is a ecologist. And then Christopher Warren, who works with the Haleakala. I've murdered that, obviously. National Park in Hawaii. And I might follow these guys up to talk about this. So, similar to other single island endemic Hawaiian honeycreepers, the critically endangered Akoki Kohei, or Palmerii dolii, I reckon that might be, is threatened by climate-driven disease spread. To avert the imminent risk of extinction, managers are considering novel measures, including the conservation introduction, or CI, of the species from Maui to the higher elevation habitats on the island of Hawaii. So, and the reason they would do that is that the temperatures, the base temperature, or average base temperature, will be a little bit cooler. So that's what I was mentioning about the temperature difference, or the temperature increase being linked to climate change. The study integrated LiDAR-based habitat suitability models and population viability analyses to assess 5 candidate sites currently considered by managers for conservation introduction. So that's moving one population from one spot to another. We first developed a LiDAR-based habitat suitability model for the species native ranges on Maui. We then projected habitat suitability. So you can tell I'm out of practice, stumbling on the words today. Projected habitat suitability across candidate conservation introduction sites, including using forest structure and topography metrics standardized across sensor types. So forest structure is both the physical structure, the layers of the forest. That's probably that we probably need a whole episode just to talk about something like forest structure, and that would also include the species that make up the forest. So using forest structure and topography metrics standardized across sensor types. Given the structural variability observed within the 5 candidate sites, we observed clusters of contiguous, highly suitable habitat as potential release sites. So, even though there was lots of differences in the forest structure, there still seem to be adjoining sections that are suitable as release sites. So that's contiguous. We then determined how many adult individuals could be supported by each cluster based on adult home range estimates. To determine which clusters could house the minimum number of birds necessary for a stable or increasing future population, we conducted a population viability analysis under multiple scenarios of bird releases. We found that canopy height and relative height, we found that canopy height and relative height 90, what's the 90, had the greatest effects on model performance, possibly reflecting the bird's preference for taller canopies. We found that a small release of at least 9 pairs of equal sex ratios, equal number of male and female, was sufficient for an 80% chance of survival and a less than 1% chance of extinction or extirpation, elimination, dying out in that location in 20 years, resulting in a minimum release area of 4.5 hectares in size. Okay, so they need the appropriate habitat with the appropriate structure, needs to be large enough to house or to support at least 9 pairs, and that size that the model has calculated is 4.5 hectares. We integrated the results in the LiDAR-based habitat suitability models and population viability analysis into an interactive web application that allowed managers to consider the caveats and uncertainties associated with both LiDAR habitat suitability models and population viability analyses in their decision-making process. As climate change continued to threaten species worldwide, the research demonstrates the value of LiDAR remote sensing combined with species-specific models to enable rapid, quantitative assessments that can inform the increasing consideration of time-sensitive conservation introductions. Okay, I'm just going to check and see if anyone on Instagram has left a comment. We've had Jeff White, Tony Spira, and Wendy SGR and Vicky Louise joining in. I should have mentioned, shouldn't I, for Instagram that you'll get a better experience if you're on Instagram if you join on YouTube. But that's nice. People joined in. I'm not sure if they're actually still here. Sorry for dropping the flow. Okay. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to go through the introduction, and then we'll go through. Just go through the conclusion, the results. Escalating global impacts of climate change, anthropogenic development, man-made development, disease outbreaks and other dynamic factors have pushed many species to the brink of extinction, rendering their historical habitats and ranges unfit to sustain viable populations. Increasingly, managers are considering relocating plants and animals outside their historical range to locations deemed more suitable for species survival. These actions, termed conservation introductions, have received widespread attention in recent years as traditional conservation approaches fail to address current threats. Yeah. Things that worked 50 years ago are not working now when we are attempting to maintain viable populations in the wild. However, a conservation introduction is a leap into the unknown, introducing species to ecosystems where they did not evolve, potentially leading to numerous unforeseen consequences. Yeah. So, without... You obviously would be aware that species evolve in a particular location, in a particular environment, in a particular habitat, and if they're moved out of that, they may not be able to adapt to successfully continuing to breed and maintain or increase their population. This inherent uncertainty stresses the importance of careful planning in release site selection, as habitat suitability in these novel environments will greatly affect the likelihood of success. Hawaiian honey creepers. I'll get a honey creeper up for you too. They look like a cross between honey eaters in Australia and sunbirds. So let's just get, and I might mention a great album called Honey Creeper is out there by one of my favourite. There we are. There's the Hawaiian creepers. There's a group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think they were at 9. Where are we? Back here. So we'll come back here. So Hawaiian honey creepers are a group of species in which conservation introductions are being considered to prevent extinction. Avian malaria is the primary driver of recent declines in multiple honeycreeper species, placing them at risk of imminent extinction. Avian malaria is vectored by the southern house mosquito, one of the Culex mosquitoes. And both the mosquito and the malaria parasite require sufficient temperatures to develop. This has historically kept high elevation forests free of disease because temperatures were too cool for mosquito populations to develop. However, climate change has facilitated the rapid spread of the Culex mosquito into higher elevations on the Hawaiian Islands, threatening disease-sensitive honeycreeper species that had once been safe from disease. Isotherms are associated with critical temperatures for Plasmodium development, and that's the avian malaria, which is 13 degrees Celsius, have historically delineated disease lines on the Hawaiian Islands in both current and future climatic conditions. The honey creeper we were talking about, Palmerii dolii, is a federally endangered honey creeper species endemic to the islands of Maui and Molokai, now restricted to a range of less than 3,000 hectares above 1,600 metres of elevation in East Maui. The nectar of the Metrosideus polymorpha flowers. One of the Metrosideus is a Myrtaceae plant, and I will be talking about Myrtaceae in Habitat Gardening tomorrow morning. And the Metrosideus is one of the genera that I will be speaking about. So the Metrosideus polymorpha flowers comprise 50 to 75% of their diet. And this is that's an indication of how specialised nectar and pollen feeding birds can be. I'm quite aware of this because I've got a rainbow lorikeet that shares the house with me. And while Loz, the lorikeet, will browse many flowers, eucalyptus are what it prefers. It prefers. Okay. Postnatal juveniles often travel long distances in search of food resources, which can include lower elevations. Okay, so the plants are growing. There's not enough plants in the higher elevations to keep the population in the higher elevations. They need to move to the lower elevations to find enough food, enough Metrosideus flowers. But when they move down there, that's where the mosquitoes are living. So they travel long distances the juveniles travel long distances in search of food resources, which can include lower elevations, placing them at an elevated risk of contracting malaria. From 2001 to 2017, the species range contracted by 61%, with population estimates declining by 78%. So that's a 78% decline in, 16 years. I need to do a TikTok about that, I believe. Yeah, I do, don't I? And the current population is estimated to be 1,768 birds. That's been calculated with a 95% confidence. Expert assessment of current declines and remaining population size indicated that the species could become extinct within 10 years. Given the current and projected population trends for the species, novel approaches to managing the species are being considered, such as possible inter-island conservation introductions. Given the narrow elevational extent of the species habitat on Maui, the potential conservation introduction of the species to the island of Hawaii, which has more native habitat within suitable elevations for forest birds, could help safeguard the species from future warming-induced extinction risk. Previous strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or a SWOT assessment, started the process of evaluating the plausibility of this action by comparing the quality of candidate conservation introduction sites on the island of Hawaii for the release of kiwikiu. I don't know these birds. These are all different Hawaiian birds. Pseudonesto xanthophrys, Oreomysters bairdi, and Loxops cerulorostris. The analysis included several candidate conservation introduction areas on the island of Hawaii. These sites were evaluated qualitatively based on the input of expert biologists, which provided an important first step in the process of identifying quality release sites. However, a more quantitative assessment of strength, weakness, and threat indicators could better inform the viability of the considered sites. An additional limitation of this qualitative approach was that each site was viewed as a whole rather than considering how the indicators varied across the landscape within each site. So, using LiDAR, and we'll talk about LiDAR a little bit more in a moment, and if you are still watching and you're needing me to explain anything or slow down, hello Suburban Dreaming on Instagram, please do pop a comment in and I will come back to you. Oh, hang on. Oh, I've just got an interesting... Oh, funny enough, I was talking about new research and I just got a message about new research that I definitely need to... I need to go on. Anyway, we got through here. So, when you use a tool like LiDAR and interpret the LiDAR information, you can determine the quality of the habitat, but you need to do a separate analysis and collect more data to work out how much of that quality suitable habitat is available. I think that's the short on that. Okay. Let's talk about LiDAR. Yeah, we talk about the method. All right. If you'd like me to have a break, because this is pretty heavy stuff, but it's important stuff, and it's the kind of stuff that no one really ever talks about. Um, okay. Okay. There's a information about how they overcame biases, statistical biases. Um, let's let's talk about LiDAR just for a minute. LiDAR scanning for conservation. Let's see if we can find a good article. Okay. LiDAR can be used to monitor the condition of historic structures and offer direction for projects about their necessary conservation restoration. You may well have seen shows like Time Team and other archaeology sites where they use LiDAR. Um, I'll just come across to this. This is a Worldwide Fund for Nature, except cookies. Okay, gee. Um, so LiDAR is radar, and it can using LiDAR. Where's something that makes it really easy to just light det- back back. So it's light detection and ranging, which is what LiDAR means. Alternatively referred to as airborne or terrestrial laser scanning, is a remote sensing technique that produces a 3D point cloud of the structure of a terrain and the vegetation above it. And the 3D structure of vegetation is known to be a primary determinant of habitat quality for many species. The capabilities of LiDAR system to describe the 3D structure of forests were demonstrated almost 20 years ago, and its use in forestry applications grew its value in ecology. It grew. Sorry. As its use in forestry applications grew, its value in ecology became increasingly apparent. And of course, the people who were destroying the habitat use a really good tool first and more than the people trying to preserve habitats because money. Eventually, the first papers linking LiDAR-based descriptions of vegetation structure to study wildlife habitats were published, and since then the amount of such papers has increased rapidly, and we're going through one of them now. Although the value of LiDAR to wildlife ecologists is apparent, the highly technical aspect of its use remains a barrier for many. These guidelines seek to alleviate the barrier that blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that hopefully gives you an idea of what LiDAR is and how it is used. So you basically, and how most of the surveys are taken is they're taken from above. I know that people doing with microlights have been doing some LiDAR, because you can count birds like shorebirds using LiDAR. You can analyze forests. You can do many things, but they can be in ultralight aircraft, the gyrocoptery type things, but most often they're on conventional light, small planes, light planes. So airborne surveying is how it's usually done, but can also be placed in situ if the site is small. So, but most of them are mounted to aircraft. Okay, so I think I won't talk about all the statistical stuff, but what I think I better interview someone about this, don't you think? So let's get to the results, because that's the important thing. The habitat suitability models with our curated list of vegetation structure and topography metrics perform well, with an average AUC, I can't remember what that is, of 0.891, and I'm guessing that that's nearly 90%. The standard deviation amongst these 100 iterations was 0.013, which is very, very small, indicating a low level of uncertainty. Canopy height was symmetric with the highest average percent contribution over replicate runs. Blah, 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 blah. So one site had the greatest area that could be classified as forest-based. Let's just go to the conclusion. Hey, it's too technical to do in a spoken word discussion. Let's just go to the conclusion. Here we go. The study demonstrates the value of high-resolution LiDAR data for assessing habitat compatibility to support endangered species conservation introductions. By standardising vegetation structure metrics across differing LiDAR sensors in the native and potential introduction ranges, habitat suitability models were successfully transferred between islands with high scores. The methods, blah, blah, blah. Let's get right back. Sorry, there's so many Hawaiian words that I don't want to be insulting and do them wrong. Compared with the previous study, we took our research further through our consideration of the spatial heterogeneity of suitable habitat. We thus identified patches of consistent suitable habitat using a texture analysis of model results across the landscape rather than relying on site-wide averages. Okay. The I don't know how to pronounce that site, proved to be the candidate site with the most suitable habitat, while Puumakala was found to be the least suitable. However, the consideration of several other abiotic, biotic, logistical and management factors is essential when selecting a conservation introduction site. Initial population viability analyses results show that a minimum of 9 pairs is necessary for establishing a successful translocation population of this species. Web application provides an interactive decision support tool. Well, I'm a little bit disappointed that because it highlights. I'm going to stop sharing that. We'll go back to being there. It highlights how there's so many great tools out there now that can assist people doing conservation work. And you can imagine that at least 2 sites I think that's what I got from from reading that. At least two sites were suitable, but there's no decision made about um, whether the introduction will happen. Um, I really wonder if by the time we are uh, making these decisions and moving the birds, it might be too late. It, just wonder whether it's worth rolling the dice now. Um, I will reach out and see if we can um, whether we can talk to someone about that. Now, I wanted to start with that one because that one is the heavy going, but there is an article out in October, so it's only like weeks or actually, beg your pardon, it was published in April, but I didn't have access to it. But it's been published in Animal Conservation last month, and it is about the orange-bellied parrot, and um, it is um, it is talking a little bit about how some populations aren't suitable for this idea of translocations. And the orange-bellied parrot is particularly complicated from these kind of management techniques and these management decisions because it breeds uh, in Tasmania and then migrates across that stretch of water known as Bass Strait that separates the Australian mainland from Tasmania. So this, I'll tell you what. I want to find. Have I got an intermission? I haven't. I'm just gonna just for a minute. Uh, someone's liked something on Instagram. Let me come back to talk to Instagram folks for just a minute. If you're joining on Instagram, the way Instagram does things, it's difficult to stream to YouTube and Facebook and Instagram at the same time. I do it. That's what we're doing now. But Instagram is lagging and it also cuts off after about an hour. So if you're on Instagram and you want to keep being involved, please head over to the birdemergency.com/YouTube and then you can comment and we can discuss. It's just much better. But because there's people following on Instagram, I want you to be able to be involved. So I'm going to pop a comment in there. Pop over to the birdemergency.com/YouTube as Instagram ends the stream early. Thanks for joining in. looks like Instagram's already stopped me. Okay. I'll tell you what, folks, what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to tee up some more images for to support this. I've just got an email I need to reply to. It's about work, and I need to be earning money at the moment. So I will. What is the time? 1:30. I'll tell you what. I'll come back at about 3:00. I'll set up another stream at about 3:00. For about 3:00 and jump in then. So if you got your notifications on, you will see that. So yeah. Okay. I'll just see no more new comments. Always appreciate when you do jump in and join in. Makes it much easier. And as you can tell, I'm out of practice, so we'll do another stream and I'll get the streaming muscles going and be less clunky. I'm also using a different setup, different computer than I usually do, and I still haven't got all the images and everything in place. And this is making me feel terrible because it makes me look really red. So, okay. So I'll just check Instagram again as one last time. So I'm going to end the old Instagram. I don't know what. Sometimes I just wonder whether it's even worth doing it. I might just do an Instagram on its own. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll be back later. And we'll talk about orange-bellied parrots and whether conservation introductions are suitable for that bird. So Facebook and YouTube. I'm sorry, I do have to attend to something that's just cropped up for a job. I will take care of this and I'll come back with another stream. So check your notifications. We'll keep going. See ya.